Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm Terry with Next Wave Cruising.
I'm Rich with Next Wave Cruising.
And we're here to share our adventure on the Galapagos Islands during our celebrity cruise.
What an adventure it is.
Right? So this episode is about getting out on the islands. Things to think about, things we learned, and then what it was like when we were really out there.
Right.
We were on an outer loop itinerary. And it varies week by week. On the Celebrity Flora that we were traveling, they do an outer and an inner loop.
Right.
And it changes somewhat, but not totally, which islands and which stops at the islands you make. And some of the other ships do a northern and a southern.
Right.
But, dramatically, I think for the most part, you're going to see many of the same things.
Right.
You're not going to say, oh, I should have gone on this other itinerary, I've missed everything.
Right.
That's not the case. So when we show you what we saw, it's going to be representative depending on the time of year, who's mating, what animals are giving birth, and where they may be moving around to.
Right.
That would probably have a little more to do with what you see the most.
Right.
But you're going to see a lot of the major species there. And it is just a really amazing opportunity to see a landscape and animals that are so unlike anything that any of us live near. Any of us.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that brings all of that to you the best is the naturalists that they have that guide you in very small groups onto the islands, and they've gone through so much education. They really know their stuff.
They are passionate about
They're
this.
passionate about it. They see this every single day, and when they see something, oh my gosh, look at this. So
they're as excited as we are seeing it for the first time.
Exactly.
And they really do make that connection for you, and so enjoyable.
Yep.
But to get out on the islands, you also have to just think about your transition on a daily basis from the ship that you're on. In our case, that was the beautiful Celebrity Flora.
Right.
Hard to pry you off of there, except that it's so exciting to get out on the islands.
Right.
And maybe how you're going to get there and how to prepare. Some of what we learned even from what to bring and what made it more enjoyable, because if you're well prepared, you can just get on with enjoying your day.
Right.
So the first thing is that you never, from your ship, never pull up to an island.
Right.
It's always a tendering situation.
Right.
You're heading off in a Zodiac, and the Zodiacs on the Celebrity Flora are very upscale, very modern,
very easy to get on and off.
Right. And yet you do need to be mobile. This is a trip that's very active. You're going to be traveling, whether it's walking or what have you, over uneven territory. There are lava fields that can be very rocky and, again, uneven. So if someone has significant mobility issues, unfortunately, this is not the range of activities that they're going to be able to participate in and enjoy. And again, you never get to just pull up and dock. You always take a tender. So you've got to be comfortable climbing in or stepping into a tender and climbing off or hopping off, depending on what it is. And so that's one consideration if this is something that's on your list of travel that you want to plan for. So be careful about that. But the other thing is, because you're also getting on and off through the tender system with the Zodiacs, you really are carrying with you whatever you need for probably about a half day. You usually do a morning and an afternoon activity. Now, Celebrity, when we were on the Flora, gave us each a really nice size backpack.
Absolutely.
And that is great to have. Because you were going to load that up with some of the things you'd want to have with you. Maybe your rain poncho that they also provided in case the weather changed. And your sunscreen and any other layers you needed from a clothing point of view and your own personal materials. So that backpack is really important. And they give you a water bottle. We've talked about this on other episodes, but right at the beginning of the trip. And we took them with us everywhere we went.
Take them with you. Now, also remember is that when you get on these islands, there's no bathrooms. So,
you're not gone out that long, so it's
right,
not a
but
problem.
one water bottle ought to do it.
That's right. You're not out there trying to master the island for 4 hours at a time.
There's trees, so you can.
Maybe.
But that's about it.
That could be it. I didn't want to do that, so I always had just what I needed. And you kind of also have water evaporating, as you're active. So it's good to have some refreshment and potable water. You're going to have nice water that's filtered on the ship. Right in your room, you can refill it from a special faucet that's set up just for that. But the water bottle and the backpack are things you learn you want to have with you, because you also are going to put on a life vest every time you get on the Zodiac, and then your backpack goes over the life jacket. So you can't be thinking you're going to shove things in your pockets and have it make sense as you're climbing.
You need two hands to get on and off the Zodiac, so you got to put the backpack on, or you can hand it to them and they'll take it on and off the Zodiac
maybe
for you.
onto the middle bench. But generally speaking, things have to be enclosed and encased. You can't have a lot of loose things flying around. You're not bringing a purse if you're a woman,
Right.
unless it's inside your backpack. But I mean, you're not spending money.
Right.
You just need the things you need to really get on with the day.
Yeah, the lizards, they don't take credit cards. So. and I don't know what their local currency is.
Now,
so.
the other thing is you have to think about what you're wearing, and that can include, I think really importantly, your shoes.
Absolutely.
There are both wet and dry landings when you are leaving the Zodiacs to get on these various islands. And can you explain a little bit about what a dry landing could be like versus a wet landing?
Right. Now, a dry landing, you're usually going to be walking up and actually getting on, what was a lava bed, and that could be a little slippery. They do put some stuff out so you can walk on it, but you're not walking in the water to get on there. So, and on a dry landing, you're going to wear your hiking shoes or your, a good sturdy sneaker.
It's not a flip-flop kind of an excursion.
None
right?
of them are.
None
You
of
can
them.
leave. If you want to have flip-flops, they're good for the ship, but that's
Right.
about the only place you can use them.
Right. So you don't want anything that's got no structure to it.
Right.
Because even the dry landings, you may be going on an uneven terrain, or you may be
Right.
going on a sandy beach, or you may be going on kind of a gravel path. So
Right.
there's all different varieties
Yeah,
of that.
you really need a
that
good
could be
shoe.
part of it. Good shoes help.
Right.
And
And
now
having an
wetland-
extra pair to keep on the ship is also a very
That
good
is a
idea.
huge tip.
Because if you don't want to be in the same shoes all day long, and,
No,
and
you get
maybe
sand
if they
in
get
them or
wet
something.
or whatever, and they really make you go through whatever shoes you're wearing. They make you go through cleaning them off really well when you get on that ship, because
that
there's
could get 'em wet.
no cross contamination from one island to the other. So having an extra pair that only stays on the ship is also a
And
good
we
idea.
did that. We brought an extra pair of shoes that became our afternoon, evening, dinner shoes.
Right.
And we never took those off the island, so they were never dirty. They were
Right.
never wet. They were always comfortable and available after a day, maybe in our hiking shoes or in our
Right.
sneakers. It was nice to change into another, more comfortable pair of shoes.
Right.
That was great. That's a really good
And
tip.
now when you do a wet landing, you're
That's
really going to need a
interesting.
water shoe for
Yes.
that. Because you can bring sneakers with you for when you get up onto the beach. You can change if you want to, but if you can get those water shoes that are good for hiking and for the water, those are perfect, because then you don't have to change. You're going to be stepping off the Zodiac into water that is maybe calf height. It's not up to your knees. It's maybe down to your ankles, so your shoes are going to get wet. So,
And it may be only 1 or 2 steps, but it's
Right.
enough for your shoe to get soaked
Right.
as you just take that 1 or 2 steps onto the land. And again, that can make it for a more or less comfortable, kind of excursion from there, or the rest of the day if that's the pair of shoes you thought you were going to wear in the
Make sure you know if
afternoon.
you're going to be on a wet landing.
That's right. It can be mixed up. Sometimes
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
sometimes
Sometimes.
people don't get it right and wear their dry shoes on the wet landing.
That hair dryer in your cabin works really well to dry off
That's
any
right.
wet shoes that you might have.
And we did do a little of that and a little bit of shoes on the balcony in the sun. And
Yeah.
it worked out fine. But kind of be thinking about that.
Yep.
And I think the other thing in addition to that is, you may be putting that extra pair of shoes in your backpack.
Mm-hmm.
You may also be thinking about, when I get out on the island, I want to take pictures to remember
Right.
what I saw. So what about cameras? What about
yeah,
cameras?
I was really
You're kind of our
wondering
camera
about
guy.
that, and I was doing a lot of research on that. And I have a big 600 millimeter lens, and I bought it for this trip. I'm thinking I'm going to be going, and then the more I start reading, and the more I start understanding, and I realized that the animals are right there next to you. Now, you have to stay, I think it's 8 feet away,
including your camera.
including the camera. So none of these selfie sticks that you're going to, have to stick in front of the thing. But you have to stay away. A lot of times the animals will come up to you. They
Much
are not,
closer.
they're not afraid of you, and they're curious, especially the sea lions. They're very curious and playful. And
right.
but you don't need a really long lens. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were just using their cell phones.
And getting great,
And they were getting great
really
pictures.
wonderful photos.
So if you have a nice camera, bring it with you, especially if you want to do some video work or something like that. That's great. Having a little bit of a telephoto is also very helpful because you're 8 feet away and you want to get a nice close-up shot of that bird, one of the blue-footed boobies.
That's
or
right, or
whatever.
Nazca boobies.
So
and, there's so many.
that's fine. But if all you have is your cell phone, you don't need
Don't
to go out
worry
and buy
about
an
it.
extra camera for that.
It can work out great.
Yeah.
And one thing to think about is that there are both kayaking and snorkeling excursions.
Right.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the types of things you could see.
Right.
And they include what you'll see in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to get into the water and make sure you can have some camera
Right.
equipment with you, some people were getting those nice lanyard and then waterproof covers for their cell phones.
Right.
So that they could pick them up, have them around their neck safely if they were
Yep.
hopping on and off the Zodiac, and then be able to take some some pictures without worrying about the cell phones getting soaking
Right.
wet.
Or if you want to, there's a lot of company that make the underwater cameras.
And we tried one of those, so we'll show some footage from that as well.
So
that was nice.
Yeah, it was fun. They're small cameras. You don't have to worry. You can put it in your pocket. They're so small. So.
Right, and we had just like a little floatable wrist kind of handle to hold on to it with. So again, it was very easy to maneuver.
Right.
And if it got on the water, it was going to just kind of bob along the top. It wasn't going to
You're not
fall,
going to
not lose
right.
it and fall away. So think about your cameras as well as thinking about the outfits and all of these things that are easy to kind of put in a backpack and carry with you hands-free.
Yep.
And that is really a big piece of what's going to make you have the best time when you get out there. And once you get out there, well, now it's all about the destination.
It's
These
amazing.
islands are incredible. And we saw a lot of like terrain. You were talking about, the way that these islands were formed are largely volcanic. So lots of areas that had lava and shifting plates or bumpy, kind
and
of
they're all in
runs of
different
lava.
stages. We're
Very
100,000 years old. No one's, 500,000 years old. I mean, all these different stages of the islands, and even as recent as I think, what was it? Maybe 50 years ago, there was a major shift in one of the islands of that something was at sea level is now 30 feet high. So
you see those changes as well. And so when you get out there, you're really going to be looking at not only that landscape and the topography, you're going to see what's growing in sometimes what looks like a stark environment.
Right.
But it's amazing, right? The resilience of these plants and where they come out of and how they continue to flourish, thrive, and help feed the animals.
Right.
And then you're going to be looking at animals in the sky.
Yep.
So I think one big, kind of thing that people go to the Galapagos to look for are all those different birds. And you think about Darwin and the work that he did.
With the finches.
And it's, there are so many species of birds.
There really is.
And they are gorgeous. You get a lot of great information from your naturalists and your cruise director on the ship before you ever go out to different islands. So
What
you
you're
know
gonna see
what you're
that
going to
day.
look for.
Right.
And you'll often see the blue-footed boobies. We went on an itinerary where we could see the albatross.
Yes.
That was good.
There was a baby one that was just starting to spread his wings and figure
Try to
out
fly?
that. Yeah, he was
He wanted to
trying,
fly.
but he's probably doing it now. A couple of weeks later.
But we saw him like this attempted takeoff. Really fun.
Right.
Hawks.
Hawk came in and flew in and stood on a bush that was 10 feet away from us and just looked at us.
Oh, my gosh.
And he could
stayed
care
for
less.
the longest
He
time.
stayed. He was
very
we didn't scare him
photogenic.
away. Yeah, he turned this way, he would turn that way,
It was
So,
great.
Yeah.
We saw the yellow warblers and the Nazca boobies. Now, we were on an itinerary where they didn't think we'd see red-footed boobies, and we did. But we did.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many different varieties of the bird life. And then there are the land animals.
Right.
And there are a ton of those as well.
Lizards of just about every color and
And
size
size.
and shape and so
Right?
yep.
And then they grew up beyond the lizards. We saw the land iguanas, the marine iguanas,
Right.
different species, habitats on different islands.
Those-
so you
those-
learn about why.
Right.
That
Those
was
crabs
kinda
that,
Oh, those Sally
yeah.
Lightfoot crabs.
They
and
are
they
amazing.
are gorgeous.
Yep.
And it's as if somebody hand painted the back of them, right?
Yeah.
With a unique design. But to watch them maneuver, and they're just all over the water side and the rocks that are near the waters and the cliffs.
Right.
They're great to see.
Yeah, I think the first stop we did, we saw one, and everybody's, oh my gosh, there's one, and everybody's taking pictures of it. And by the end of the cruise, we were going to islands where, oh my gosh, there's 100 of them, there's 200 of them, they're all over the
They're
place.
everywhere.
So you're going to get to see
You'll
them.
get your shot, you'll get your view, and get to sort of see what their habitat is
Right.
like. They were great. And you mentioned sea lions and their pups, and so playful, so
Right.
interactive, and you really have a good time, watching and seeing what they do,
Right.
and how they interact, even with the other animals, because
Oh.
they can be kind of playful relative
Yeah,
to that.
there was
right?
one, what they call a flightless
Cormorant.
Right. Now that bird can't fly, but he goes underwater and he feeds with what he can find there, and then he comes back up.
And they sit out there like perched and the arms out for quite a while.
Right. And what happened?
And then there come those playful seal pups. And they must know that it's time for the cormorant to dry off. And they have other things in mind
Oh yeah,
for this guy.
this one little guy comes up and he starts splashing them, and
All that hard
cormorant-
work?
Yeah, that cormorant was not happy with him.
It was really fun to watch. So you see that interplay, which is certainly fun. So the other thing to talk about is everything you see in the sea. in the water.
Right.
But before we go there, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. And if you do that, you'll be notified every time we have a new adventure and get out on a cruise and come back home to tell you all about it.
We got some good ones planned for this year.
Absolutely. So thank you if you've already subscribed. We greatly appreciate it, and it does help our channel grow, which is one of our goals for this year, to make sure we're reaching even more people. And by sharing our experience, we really want it to be an opportunity for you to have the best possible vacation when you go to plan your own trip on the same ships or to some of these same destinations. And please do give it a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. Now, back to what we found in the water.
Under the sea.
Under the sea. Yeah, you kind of could play a little bit of under the sea music. It would fit so well, because for everything we saw in the sky and on the land, the variety of sea life that we
Right.
saw was tremendous.
Right.
And one of the things you'll have an opportunity to do on multiple days during a Galapagos trip on a cruise is to go kayaking and or snorkeling.
Right.
And I would say, even if you think you don't want to, don't miss it. Get in the water. You'll have a wetsuit provided to you from the Celebrity cruise ship.
Right.
And it is well worth it, because the things you see there, you aren't going to see, up on the land.
It's amazing. And they have, the snorkeling you can do right from shore, so it's very easy to do.
Some of those opportunities are there. And on other days, toward the end of the cruise, just depending on which island you go to first versus later, we did snorkeling that we did from the Zodiac tender,
Right.
not from the shore. And you go into a little bit deeper water, but they do have a life vest that you can be wearing, like a blow-up vest, to give you a little more buoyancy, if
Right.
that's a consideration for you, as well as the wetsuit to keep you warm and comfortable, and the fins and the snorkel mask
Sure.
and all the regular equipment. And it really isn't that hard at all
Yeah.
to exit the Zodiac into the water and then to get back on. And
Right.
the Zodiacs stay with you, whether you are snorkeling from the shoreline or from out
Right.
in the deeper water.
Right.
They stay with you the entire time.
Now, we had some very experienced actual divers with us in our group. But if you're, haven't snorkeled in a while and maybe you're a little unsure, try doing the snorkeling from shore first.
Right. A
And
lot of
then
us
when
did
you,
that.
the first day back, okay, now I got this pretty much set. I can breathe and see, and I know what I'm doing. I didn't drop my camera. And then you can go and do the deep water.
It is great. And you see maybe a little bit more with sometimes more clarity out in the deeper water. You don't have everything sort of churning like it would be at the shoreline.
Right.
But we had some excellent from the shore snorkeling opportunities along a long cliff kind of area.
Right.
And there, as you got away from the shoreline, the water was very clear. And again, the sunnier the day might help the light to penetrate, and you'll
Right.
see some things. But sea turtles that are just swimming right there with you.
Amazing.
And all kinds of schools of fish of many, many colorful varieties and
Right.
sizes and shapes. And then you can see things like the sea urchins.
Right.
You can see some of the kind of live plants and animals that kind of hover at the bottom.
Odd-looking starfishes. That
Oh,
are
those
down there.
starfish
Yeah.
are the chocolate chip
Ah,
starfish. And that
okay.
is apparently their official name.
Yep.
And you won't see them somewhere else. I saw one that was bright, bright blue, a starfish, really gorgeous. And I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't been out snorkeling.
Right.
So if you're doing that, I guess one of my other tips would be really think about the snorkeling kind of outfit. They're going to give you a short sleeve, short legged wetsuit. And a lot of folks either had some kind of a longer legged aquatic suit, or just put on some kind of leggings that they didn't mind getting in
Right.
the water with.
Yeah, the tight-fitting nylon. yeah.
Right. That absolutely helped. And then also a long sleeve rash guard kind of a
Right.
shirt, which is great for sun, because then if you even stop snorkeling, you may have hiked before or you're going to hike after, you've got that sun protection.
Right.
It also keeps you a little bit warmer as you get accustomed to the water, and it makes getting the wetsuit on and off even just that much easier. So definitely consider bringing some practical things, and maybe having two, because if you use them and they're soaking wet, they might be hanging in your shower to dry. You want to go back out the next morning or something,
Right.
and you don't want to put on these super soaking wet clothes.
Right.
So I think that was something I was glad I had a couple of
Right.
tops and bottoms to put under the wetsuit. But then in the water you go, and you are just going to have a great time, and hopefully bring a camera that you take underwater and get some great memories.
Now, one of the opportunities that we were very fortunate to have is when we were on our way back from one of the islands to the ship, the dolphins decided that they wanted to give us a show. And there was
And How many?
Oh, there must have been 100 of them that were out in the water, and
least.
they were
I think
just
at least.
they were circling the zodiacs and the ship, and they were
following us,
us
and
and just
jumping
giving us a whole big
playing.
parade. It was great.
And it was great because in the moment, the naturalists and the Zodiac drivers were like, we can't miss this.
Right.
We're going to stay out longer. We're going to go around and find where they're really
Yeah, they kept circling
playing
them
and
oh,
where
it
the
was-
dolphins
it
are
was
going to
great.
be so we could
Yep.
stay out there and really spend some time with them.
Right.
And it was just so much fun. And again, that's the kind of thing that they'll just do. They'll just sort of change what they're thinking or emphasize what's happening in the moment
They're
so that
flexible.
you don't
Right. Yeah.
you don't miss it.
Right, exactly.
And it's not that rigid kind of, oh, we're going
Yep.
back on the ship at 11:30.
Right.
It's like, everybody wants to stay out for 10 more minutes?
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And we had such a blast. You'll see pelicans, you'll see all kinds of things.
Right.
And they're just really a lot of fun. So I think whether it was on land, whether it was up in the sky with the birds or down in the water with all of the fish and wildlife,
Right.
there were just so many things to see and enjoy in the Galapagos from the animal perspective.
Absolutely.
And not a one of them is afraid of people being there. As
Nope.
long as we're respectful of them, they're very respectful of us.
Right.
And we saw that again on the last full day that we had
Mm-hmm.
before we left. We had the opportunity to go to Santa Cruz Island,
Mm-hmm.
and that was another chance to interact with wildlife in some different scenarios and
Right.
different environments. Santa Cruz had probably the largest city that we experienced.
Right,
and
outside
saw.
of Quito. Right.
Right, when we were actually in the Galapagos Islands, that
Right.
was kind of where we found a little patch of a little town or a city, and they have the Darwin Center there,
Right.
which is a breeding ground for the giant tortoises. And so you can get a sense of different varieties and what is being done from a naturalist perspective to help encourage the growth and regrowth
Right.
of some of these species that have had some ups and downs with regard to being taken by whalers and used inappropriately and depleted their numbers. And of course, they're trying to bring them all back in a very natural habitat kind of
And
way.
they're doing a great job of it.
And
they are really.
it is a
they're-
big commitment.
They're all over the place now.
And so that was kind of fun to see. And then we went up in the highlands outside of Santa Cruz, and we did some reforestation. Everybody had a chance to plant trees.
Right.
To be part of just keeping everything, kind of well suited
And
for the future.
It was very easy too because they already had the holes dug for you, so you're not going to be out there trying to
With a
dig
pickaxe
holes
or
or
something? No.
So the holes were all dug. They already had the plants in a little pod that you can just take out there. Put it more ceremonial than anything else. You put it
Well,
in
you
the
take the
ground,
time. You
and,
put on
and then
boots
you put on
and
the boots, and then you
go
you
out
know
in the woods.
you plant it, and then you're all set.
But they put an
Right.
awful lot of effort into planting trees. And I think that just brings it close to home for us
Right.
as guests that we participate in getting those trees out
Right.
there. They could send a crew out and do it.
And if there was a reason, physical limitation, you didn't
some
want to
people
go.
didn't go
you
all the
can
way
stay
into
on the
woods.
bus and
right, or out
forget
on the
about
street
us.
where we were
and,
doing the boots and so
Yeah.
forth.
So
and
you
people
didn't
did
have to
that.
do it, yeah.
And then back in the town, there were pubs and restaurants
Right.
and fun areas. People were stopping to get a beer, watch soccer games,
Yeah.
whatever was going on. And one of my favorite stops was walking along the main street and getting near the fish market.
Oh yeah.
The fish market right outside of town draws a lot of customers and a lot of friendly wildlife who would love to get their hands on that fish.
There was a sea lion that sea lion was just right bellied up to the lady that was carving up the fish, and just any kind of a scrap that would fall off. And then of course there were pelicans
Big
all over the
pelicans
place
coming in and
yeah.
other birds and
Yep.
fish. And
That was
again,
fun.
just interacting kind of in the mix with the
Oh, yeah.
people who are there to buy fish at the fish market.
Yep.
And the people who are running the market doesn't faze them at all.
No.
It's an everyday thing.
Yep.
But what a fun experience
It
to
is.
sort of just come in there and get close to that,
Right.
and to see a sea lion sleeping on the bus stop chair. And it's
Yep.
just really kind of fun to see that intermix of people and the more natural environment.
Right.
And so you will see that even when you're in a more populated quote unquote area
Right.
compared to out on the kind of uninhabited islands from a human
And you get a chance to
perspective.
do a little shopping in case you need.
Some souvenirs and that kind of
souvenirs
thing. Now, the other thing we did that was sort of a capstone that day was to go to the El Manzanillo Ranch. And that is a place where, again, they are invested in bringing along the giant tortoises. They have, in essence, a farm and a place where they can breed and walk and grow.
Boy, are they breeding.
Are huge. And we had a wonderful lunch in
Oh,
a
it
sort of
was really great.
semi-outdoor environment. It was
Yep.
covered, long tables. They put on quite a spread,
Yep.
and then they put on quite a show.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
from a culture perspective, it was a really great chance to observe and interact with people who live in the area and wanted to bring some of their traditional
Yep.
dance and song and music
Right.
to all of us.
And even
there
some
was
of
some
our
shopping
the
up
crew
there
from
as
the
well.
ship was also able to go and enjoy some of that with us.
Yes,
so
they
they were
sure
having a
did.
great time.
Wasn't that fun?
They were dancing along with the dancers. You know,
Well, they really made that day so unique. And so there's so many different kinds of experiences. When
Right.
you think, oh, is tomorrow going to be like yesterday?
Right.
It won't be.
No.
There was just something unique and something different about
Right.
the activities, the location, the engagement,
Yep.
and every single day was worth the stop that we made.
It really
every
was. It
single
was
day.
it was a very active cruise, but it was a lot of fun, and you got to see things that you're never ever going to see anyplace else.
These things are not in your own backyard.
No.
And so if you're thinking about, hey, this could be a bucket list thing for us, a couple of thoughts. This is a place, because it's so active from an expedition point of view, and the hikes and the kayaking and the snorkeling. When you're active and you're healthy enough to go, do it.
Go.
Don't wait. Just do it. And it's a vacation you'll never forget.
Right.
So many people have said it's the trip of a lifetime, that they've had just that great of an experience as we've traveled.
Right.
And if you're looking for some support to figure out which ship and which itinerary, when to go, and how to get all the details booked, then reach out to Next Wave Cruising. Our information is in the description below this video, and we are here to help you, your family, your friends, and any group that you like to travel with to book the trip of a lifetime and to get this off your bucket list and onto your to-do list or your
To done.
bucket list. And why not in 2023 or 2024? So
Right.
let's talk soon about how we can put that package together for you. We have great experience having been in the Galapagos, having worked with Celebrity, both in that environment and elsewhere. They're great to work with. Or if you have another favorite cruise line, let me know. We can work with you on that as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video on our island tour. We have other things to show you about our Galapagos travels. So take a look at the video in the upper right-hand corner. We'll see you over there.
Bye now.